Papa, you can start.
Okay, so we can start.
Yes.
Okay. So, good evening to one and all present here. I, Krupa Ganatra, welcome you all on behalf of NHRD and Mumbai chapter to our yet another session. So, for today's session, we have with us Mr. Vivek Saha, who will be talking about the do's and don'ts for the early careers for young professionals. So, Mr. Vivek Saha is an ex-Deputy General Manager, Talent Management and Leadership Development at the Aditya Birla Group. He's an experienced HR professional with work experience in talent management, leadership development, culture building and change management, succession planning, talent development and capability building, performance management, HR transformation, employer branding, and employee engagement and corporate governance. Recently, Mr. Saha is selected as one of the top 100 young HR leaders by People Business and TA Pi Management Institute. In his free time, he enjoys writing articles on various social and corporate topics and playing the djembe and cooking. We welcome you, sir, and I'd like you to take the session forward. Also, before Mr. Saha takes over, I'd request everyone to keep themselves on mute. And in case anybody has questions, you all can put them in the chat box and they will be answered at the end of the session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krupa, for this detailed introduction. Let me just share my screen and just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kripa, once again for the nice introduction. Thank you. A special thanks to the NHRDN team for giving me this opportunity to share my learnings in front of all the bright sparks like you. And I hope from this session, you will gather something which will be helpful for you in your career and the future ahead. And with that, I would like to start the session. And so few ground rules before I start the session. First of all, this is not a satsang. I don't want this to be like a satsang where the guru is speaking and everybody is listening to the guru, and at the end, people are happy and going back home happily. I don't want this one-way kind of communication. I want this session to be more of a two-way communication. Start pouring your thoughts in the chat box, use the emoticons, use the raising hand option to share your views and thoughts while we take the session ahead for the next 1 hour. There's a problem when I do such kind of sessions. I have my listening capacity goes down. So thoda ucha sutta hu. So if in case you are responding to any question or you have any question to ask, you have to really speak loud. Okay. So unless you speak loud, I'm not able to take the session ahead. So speak loud, speak confidently, and speak without any hesitation. That's the second ground rule for my session. Third, bad problem, but genuine problem, undergoing a treatment for that. I have a very bad tendency to ask so many questions in such sessions. So I probably will take a pit stop and ask questions to all of you. And I am not able to go ahead unless I receive an answer. And any answer is the right answer. There is nothing called right answer or a wrong answer in this case, but I would need an answer. So please keep these three things in mind and make most use of your chat section, emoticons, and raising hand options to make this session a very interactive session and not a monologue. With this, let's go to the next slide and let's start with the basic question. How many of you like pizza? Can I have a raise of hand? How many of you like pizza? Simple question. How many of you like pizza? Can I quickly have a raise of hand? Okay, Charles, like, Kripa likes. Anybody else? Anybody who doesn't like? Okay, we have only 2 participants raising hand. Can I have a few more raise of hands? People who like pizza. Okay, okay. Deepika, thanks for your response. Great. So let me take you through a few slides which talks about how the pizza is being served. Now, this is a typical pizza counter, and there is a lady who goes to the counter and asks for a pizza. So she wants to have a chicken pizza, and she gets a response that we have 3 options in the chicken pizza. And the question from the customer is, can I customize it? Okay. The response typically is, sorry, ma'am, no, we don't have an option of customization. She opts for Mexican chicken pizza, and that's where she gets the pizza delivered and she eats that. Now, that's typically, if you see, if you link it with your careers, that is called employability. You have multiple options available with you, and you choose from those options, but very, very limited scope of customization, right? Uh, but I would say the things have changed, things are changing in a very rapid space. And uh, Perhaps very soon we will come across a stage where you have to customize your pizza on your own. Now, take another example, similar setup. Uh, how can I help you? I would like to have a chicken pizza, but can I customize and make my own pizza? But that's the requirement of the customer. And the the store is responding to the customer saying that, yeah, why don't you go inside the kitchen and make your own pizza as per your taste and likings? Now, that's something which excites the customer as well, and connecting that with your careers. This is where you yourself will be responsible for your career and development and customizing it, right? So you want it, your career pizza. Think of this example as your career pizza, where you want it to be less spicy, more of chicken, less of oregano, and more of cheese burst. That all would be actually provided by your other stakeholders like HR, leaders, managers. But again, the responsibility to make your own career pizza would lie with you, right? That's how the things would be shaping up. That's how the things are already started shaping up. The future is that you would be responsible for your career and development, and you probably have to shape your career and development basis the your career aspirations and the need that you envisage for yourself. Yeah. With this, I want to take you to the next slide, and this is a very simple picture, but it depicts a lot. This is a small sapling, and I would say this sapling is like your career, right? Why do I say so? Like a sapling which is tender and which needs more attention and care in the beginning of its growth. You give more water, fresh air, more nutrition, good soil and all. Gradually its roots become strengthens, and in few years you see that small plant growing into a big banyan tree. Exactly is your career. Your career, what you do in the first few years, and I would typically say in first 10 years of your career, defines who you will be in your future or in your entire career landscape. So first 10 years, I named it that this is the most important phase of your career, and you probably have to take charge of how can you give more of our experiences, exposures, learning and development to your careers, so that the roots are stronger, and you then get evolved as a better career professional and a better HR, sales, marketing, finance, or an operations professional in your career. So always remember, when you are talking about your career, you think of this example, a sapling example, as one example which needs the nourishment and the required ingredients in the beginning of the career. Once the plant is grown, it takes care of its own, right? You generally don't need to give water every day, but in the beginning of your in the growth phase of the plant, you need to actually take that special care. Yeah, sometimes there will be worms, sometimes there will be sometimes it will be the things would be affected. You give pesticides, you give some of the elements which kind of makes the plant again healthy and helps it grow. So always remember, this sapling would be your career, and as I mentioned, your first 10 would be most important 10. So you all are most of you are from engineering MBA colleges, who would be going to a corporate world next few months or few years, and the world would be very different there. The intent and objective of my session here is to open your mindset on exploring different avenues. Many a times, and while I was working with Aditya Birla Group, I came across many people, many engineers, and when I asked them, so what defines your career? What are you specialized in? And people tend to say I am a chemical engineer and I will be in chemical business only. Now that kind of struck me, that why do people kind of tag themselves as chemical engineer or an HR engineer, HR manager, or a learning and development professional, and not open for different exposures that a function can actually provide. So always be open, right? When you are joining, I think the first 10 years, you should explore at least 3 to 4 roles, and all the 4 roles should be different. And many times you will not realize what it is doing to you, but gradually when you grow up in your ladder, you will realize what you have achieved in the first 10 years is actually defining your career, right? So just to share my example, I did my MBA from Goa Institute of Management. I joined Godrej and Boys. I joined in a designation of manager. For the next 7 years, I was a manager, right? Designation did not change, but I made it a point that I explore multiple things, from learning and development to succession to careers to talent management to career development. And in the last 3 years, I have seen that my designation has actually changed from a manager to a senior manager to a AGM to a deputy general manager in the last 3 years only. So sometimes you don't realize what you are doing to your careers, but that fruit is actually being yielded after certain time. So don't be very impatient कि भाई मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं अलग अलग चीजें एक्सप्लोर कर रहा हूँ, why am I doing that? So have patience on that, but having different exposures and experiences in the first 10 years is very, very important. Now I am not saying this, right? I'm not saying I'm no one to actually justify this. So I have some examples to share just to make your point a little more stronger and to have a conviction on you. So I have taken 4 leaders' career paths. 2 of them are from HR and 2 of them are from the business. And just try to understand what they have done in the first 10 years of their career, right? So he's Mr. Samik Basu. He's a CHRO for Hindalco, a part of Aditya Birla Group. Now let's try to understand what he has done in the first 10 years. So after doing his post-graduation from Accelerite, he joined VIP Industries Limited for 3 years and 10 months, almost 4 years. And if you see, he was stationed in Nashik plant first. From Nashik plant, he moved to the Nagpur plant, which is a bigger plant and have the capacity to actually manage more people. So he managed almost 600 people there. He also managed IR, labor situations, strikes, lockouts. So the IR exposure, which is very, very important and an integral part of HR, he actually picked that in the very beginning. Now let's see the next 8 years of his career, which is 93 to 2001. He joined a company called Hindustan Unilever Limited. He had plant experience in Etha. Then he moved to Nagpur. Nagpur is one of the biggest and complex plants of HUL that time. He managed that. Then after that, he got an experience and exposure of managing the entire greenfield project. Now that the greenfield project gave him an exposure of start till end. Entire value chain of HR he actually learned through the greenfield project. Now he could have actually said that, okay, I have been doing IR, ER, and this is my forte, I should stick. But he did not stop there. He went back to Mumbai factory, which is the oldest plant and most difficult plant that time. He actually embraced that challenge, if you see. He managed the IR there. He learned the nuances of IR, ER there. And from there, he explored multiple things, like he did campus and lateral recruitment. He did JE, which is org restructuring. He then had his stint on development centers, training and development. Now, if you see in the first 10 to 12 years, he actually, barring, I think, rewards and recognition, he has done almost everything in HR and did not stop there. Post that, he joined PepsiCo as an HR director for India Foods. There, from there, he moved to organizational capability building. Then for India and ANZ, which is Asia Pacific and New Zealand zone. So different business, different location, different country. That's again a way of looking at different exposures, right? So he explored those unexplored terrains. He then moved into succession planning, culture building. and then he left PepsiCo as an HR director for Southeast Asia and North and South Asia. Now that is a holistic experience he gained, and then he joined as a CHRO for Hindalco. Now that's one example. Now take another example of Miss Anuradha Razdan. Anuradha is an ED, HR, and CHRO for Hindustan Unilever and Unilever South Asia now, and she joined as a management trainee from Hindustan to Hindustan Unilever Limited. The first 11 months, she actually had stint in different facets of HR. She had factory experience, recruitment, training, then rural community program, and employee relations. So that's typically your management trainee program, which is structured in companies like HUL, P&G, and the Birla Group. Then from there, she took a very different role, which is a sales HR manager. And there she did a stint of HRBP, careers, training, recruitment, culture building. If you see, all of these are very different. Training is very different from culture building, and so is recruitment. But she explored those unexplored terrains and understood the nuances of that. And if you have noticed, she has been changing roles after every 2.5 years. So 2 years, 2 months there, then she moved to HR of HUL Mumbai factory, which I mentioned was one of the most difficult factory. Now, being a woman, she could have said that why to explore an ER? I mean, I'm absolutely fine doing a corporate role. But she went to the factory, she understood the restructuring, negotiation, litigation, and labor law part as well. So that made her entire experience richer. 2 years stint there, not spending enough time. Then she moved to HRBP of supply chain, HUL, and Unilever South Asia. So another country being added to her portfolio. And she made the entire integrated supply chain function right from start till end. She actually created that function. Talent management of design were added to her portfolio as well. So if you see, in the first 10-12 years, almost everything she explored, and that's how she has reached to a CHRO role. After this role, she moved to HRBP for home and personal care. Then she moved to head of talent management and leadership development. She was also EA to the global CHRO, which is a very different kind of an exposure, right? EA to global CHRO gives you a overall perspective of how the CHRO functions, right? So that's a very important experience she gathered in the early of her career. And then from succession planning to head of global talent acquisition. So now she is a CHRO. That's a very classic example. How do you actually leverage your first 10 years of your career to actually become a leader in any function? Next is Mr. Rajesh Gopinathan. He's the CEO and MD at Tata Consultancy Services. 96 to 2000, he was purely into strategic management group, strategy, visioning, and execution. And then after that, he mentions that next 12 years, he actually worked across operations. So he moved from operations to sales to other corporate functions as well. Now, that has given him the width and the breadth of the experiences which is required to become a CEO and MD. After this, he became the CFO for TCS, and now he's the CEO and MD of Tata Consultancy Services. You will find these nuances coming to each and every leader who is a what you can say successful leader today. This has been a trend. They have always embraced something which is unknown. Make themselves uncomfortable in that terrain and learn something out of that. And some of those learnings are the learnings for your lifetime, right? That stays with you, and that makes you an individual which you want to be, with a leader which you want to be. Specifically, being in one function for a longer time, you will reach to a plateau, and then you will not realize when you're not employable anymore, right? So that's very important. Keep in mind, I'm again reiterating, your first 10 is the most important 10. Who doesn't know Indra Nooyi? She's a former chairman and CEO for PepsiCo. After her MBA from IIM Calcutta, she joined a company called Meteor Bairshell as a product manager for 1 year. Then she moved to a bigger company, Johnson & Johnson, as a product manager. Then from a company, she moved to a consulting. She was part of the Boston Consulting Group for almost 6 years there, based out of USA. Then she moved to a Motorola company of vice president and director of corporate strategy and planning. So if you see product, then strategy in Boston Consulting Group, leveraging that experience, then moving to Motorola for corporate strategy and planning. And then after that, after 1990, she actually moved to PepsiCo, where she had experiences in strategic marketing, strategic planning, corporate strategy and development. And before being a CEO, she was also a CFO. She was a CFO for PepsiCo, and then she became the CEO of PepsiCo. So see the kind of experiences she has also gathered, and that's why we all talk about her overall experience and her and the metal that she has actually brought to the entire industry of FMCG. Now, while these experiences are experiences, these things are there in the LinkedIn, and I've just tried to pick it up so that you don't blame Vivek jo bolta hai, need not to follow. So I'm just trying to make my point supported by some evidences as well. Now, having said that, I also did some survey in LinkedIn, and I also shared a link with some of you, and you had also shared your responses on that. So I'm just sharing some of the responses which I've gathered, and which kind of heartening to see what people think about careers, right? So I asked a question to my LinkedIn friends on share that one advice which you feel would have been helpful in first 10 years of your career. And 56% of the people said that multiple roles. If somebody had given me given me an insight that do multiple roles in first 10 years of your career is actually strengthened. I am becoming that one guidance or an advisor to you, that please explore multiple roles in first 10 years of your career. Don't be confined to what is being given. Otherwise, you will be feeling comfortable because obviously change is not acceptable. Many a time you feel comfortable not changing the things, but always remember, if you're not changing the things, you sometimes reach the plateau, and sometimes some of the experiences and exposures seize the path which may be there for you for tomorrow. So this is one survey which is 56% multiple roles. 39% people said that explore new avenues. Now, new avenues can be in the form of experiences, exposure. You work on different cross-functional projects, or you go to a different country and understand their cross-cultural sensitivity. All these things are explore new avenues and look for a spiral career path. So I'll come to the spiral career path a little later. But most of the people said that if you are able to change your role, right, from X role to Y role, and making sure that the Y role is very different from X role, you will actually be able to make a lot of difference in your overall career. So next question I had is, okay, so fine, we are all talking about careers, and also who is responsible for my career? And glad to see that. And first one is LinkedIn. 91% people say that I myself is responsible for my career and development, followed by managers, then leaders, and HR 0. HR ko kisi ne layak bhi nahi samjha. And but I'm happy. I'm happy people are actually saying that HR is not responsible for my career and development, because many a times people have the perception ki HR hai na mere liye. So HR will take care of my career and development. But things are changing, and you are responsible for your career and development. Second one is where you yourself have responded. Some of you have responded to this question and saying that 88% of the people feel that you yourself are responsible for your career and development. Now that speaks a lot about the responsibility that each one of you carry for your career and development. So what is your career aspiration? And basis that career aspiration, what are you doing today for tomorrow defines your tomorrow, right? So don't go to your college or professor or your parents or your manager tomorrow saying that, hey, you did not do anything for my career, I am stuck. That's absolutely not done, right? That's absolutely not done. You have to take charge of your career. You are the MD and CEO of your career and development. And that's where it is important that you try to find out what needs to be done today so that your career is flourishing. And if you bloom, it's again your responsibility. You yourself will shape your careers for tomorrow as well. Okay, so that's on the survey inside, and I think that kinds of sets the context pretty well that career is important. You yourself are important, are responsible for your career development. Multiple career opportunities in the first 10 years is very important. But how do we get that? And so next few slides on my slide would talk about how do we get that. So this is a slide which talks about everything which is there in this world evolves, right? Now, the first picture that you see is from during the Industrial Revolution in England. So in before the Industrial Revolution in England, the moths were actually of this color of black and white. But as the pollution started increasing and all, the moths also tried or they changed their color to completely black, and that's where they kind of survived. And people could experience and see more and more dark colored moths post the Industrial Revolution. Now, that's a byproduct of the pollution, but see how the moths actually changed or adapted to the new environment to make themselves survive. Second example, we all are aware of what Industry 4.0, now people are talking about Industry 5.0 as well. And a smart manufacturing has done the entire manufacturing facet. So gone are the days where only the manual intervention would be needed in the manufacturing setup. Things are are being used by robotics, smart manufacturing, cloud computing, and all these things coming together and making the entire manufacturing so smooth and hassle free. Third example, I mean, COVID has actually taught us how to move from this kind left side of communication to a completely virtual communication. So we all are, almost 60 of us are connected today, basis with the help of Zoom, right? So that's how that's how the technology changes. That's how the things evolve over the years, and only thing which is constant is the change. And so does the careers, and we have seen a very significant shift in the careers from 1950s to 2020s. So 1950, typically your grandparents would fall in that category. They would be called as the company men, right? So they used to work from 9 to 5, used to send a memo, prefers public sector job. They were more towards making the lives easier, constant easy flow of revenue every month, not very open for taking risk and all. So that's a very typical 50s of the generation. 1990s post liberalization, things have opened up very dramatically, drastically, and now and this is perhaps your generation or our generation, which the ladder climbers, right? So they want flexi timing. They send mails. They're fast. They want responses quick, and they prefer a corporate job. They prefer a setup which is kind of confined in a corporate setup, right? And then there's a third category, which is a very different category altogether. These are free agents. These are gig workforce. They don't want a 9 to 5 job. They prefers to work. I mean, if given a chance, they probably will work over the night as well. But they will look for a purpose in the role. They will not be hesitating to extend their extra arm if they are able to see the purpose that they are trying to build, right? So they are flexible, they are mobile, they just don't want to sit at one place. And we have all witnessed how things have evolved in the COVID as well. So work from anywhere was the concept there. So this is the category, and you all are perhaps falling in that category where you want to work from anywhere, no hierarchy. They want responsibility, but they want authority as well. They are freelancers, and they prefer being their own boss. So this is the career which has shifted, which has evolved over the years as well. But while the careers have evolved, I feel there are some concerns which a 1950s work setup also had, and the concerns of 2020 setup also pretty much the same. And this slide actually combines the various concerns that the employee might have and the organization might have. So employee is concerned about finding meaning at work, health and safety, work life, job security, employability, and all these things. This was there in 1950 as well. This is there today as well. On the other hand, there is an organization expectation that you will be more efficient, you will be doing more, you will be more effective, means you will be doing better, and you will be more entrepreneurability, which you will be making a difference in the work setup. You will be innovative, you will be agile, and you will be making you will not be just following the setup which is being created by your predecessors. So this slide talks about what is the expectation from the organizations. You would be joining an organization tomorrow. Some of you are already in a working setup. You will be joining different companies. Just keep that in mind that the organization's requirements are also changing. How do you keep yourself abreast with the changes and make those changes today so that you are employable for tomorrow? This is a little busy slide, but I have actually done some research and tried to gather what are some of the emerging trends. What is the impact? I will not go to each point one by one because you can actually read, but I would just like to capture some of the thoughts, like the customer engagement and the customer requirements are changing very drastically. So be in HR or in sales or marketing or finance, you need to understand your customer's pulse very quickly, rightly, and then provide a solution. Gone are the days where you are actually providing the solutions and then the customers are buying those solutions. Things have come where you actually have to understand the customer's requirements and then create a solution and then sell. That only will sell, in fact. So that means you need to have higher learning agility. You need to have the capability or the ability to fail fast, learn fast, right? Because when you are in the process of innovation, things will fail. But how quickly you are able to come out of that zone and build something which is very different is what will define you as a professional. And the last point is, which is in green, you need to have the owner's mindset, be it your career or your products or anything that you are doing in your work. You need to have the owner's mindset as well. Now, while we are talking about the change, this is a very nice change management model that I have come across, and I've tried to actually map it with the career life cycle as well, because any change in the career also is not a welcoming change, because you are happy doing what you are and you don't want to change. Just to share, I just resigned from Aditya Birla Group last Friday. I am going to undergo a little bit of change from Monday onwards. I will be joining a different company, different role, different experiences and challenges altogether. But I actually took that change because that probably will be helpful for me in my future. Right. So what this model talks about, and let's take an example along with the model so that I can explain you the steps pretty clearly. Let's take an objective of you want to work on your health and improve your health. That's the end objective you have. The pre-contemplation stage says that you don't require it. So your mind will say that, no, you are absolutely fine. You are healthy and you need not to take care of your health. So that's the first stage of any change management where there will be a push. There will be a push saying that you don't need it. Now, as soon as you are able to come out of this zone, it is better for you. Most of the people spend most time here where they kind of linger and they kind of postpone the things because they don't accept it. When you accept the pre-contemplation stage, you go to a contemplation stage, then you say that, okay, maybe I am fit tomorrow, but I need to be fitter so maybe I'm a fit today, but I need to be fitter tomorrow. For that, I need to exercise and I need to take care of health. So when the maybe stage comes, that is your contemplation stage where you are actually evaluating what needs to be done. So after you are convinced and you are contemplating, contemplation is done, you come to a third stage, which is a preparation stage. Preparation stage tells you what needs to be done now to actually achieve your end objective. So now you make a plan that, okay, I need to be healthy, so I will stop eating junk food. I will go for a walk for 30 minutes, at least 3 days a week. I will come walking from my bus stop to my home at least 4 days a week. So this is the plan. You make a plan, and that is your third stage, which is your preparation stage. Then comes the next stage, which is an action stage, where you actually do that. You are convinced, you actually do that, and then you have made that shift of change. You have actually changed yourself. And then the last stage is your maintenance, which is sustenance, you just keep on going. So you always tell your mind that you have to keep on doing to actually sustain that change that you have done. Now, I have actually tried to map it with the career stages as well. The first stage, which is your orange, which is pre-contemplation or an epoch stage, which tells you that career change is not required. You are not at all convinced, and you say that why it is needed for new opportunity or projects. Then you do a self-awareness. You tell yourself, ask yourself, and do a little bit of deep digging, and you try to answer some of the questions which is there in the contemplation stage. You understand self, and you now are open for new roles or avenues. That is the contemplation which you have contemplated. Then the third stage is your preparation stage, where you are willing to now change, and then you take small steps, you adopt a growth mindset, and you come out of your comfort zone. You are willing to now make a change, and you also prepare yourself. Now, preparation stage might come with making your CV, editing your CV, applying into your internal portal when you join the company and all. And then last stage is your action, where you actually move. Your movement have happened, and you are learning agile, and you are learning the new things. And the last one is your performing, which is your adherence stage, that you feel that I have done enough, and my time in role is more than my outcome in role, which means I perhaps should have been in this role for 3 years. I have learned enough in my 3 years. Now is the stage where you feel that I am stagnated. I should explore something new. The moment you feel that I should explore something new, you reach to a stage of epoch stage, and then again the entire cycle starts. So I would suggest that you keep this cycle in mind, and at least in your first 10 years of career, run this cycle at least 3 times. At least 3 times you should change your careers in the first 10 years of career. It can be internal, it can be external. I am a strong believer of that. But just make sure that what is that you are adding in your CV in the 3 years tenure or 4 years tenure that you are in, so that your CV becomes stronger. Okay, so that is the change management for careers, early careers, which I wanted to share with you. And this is a quick slide on how the nature teaches us multiple things around career as well. So just to share an example, octopus is one of the creatures which is very intelligent, and they typically change their RNA to adapt to a new environment. So if they move to a new environment, they will change their RNA, and they will be adaptable to that scenario. We should also be like octopus. Whatever is the scenario, we should be able to adapt to that scenario or environment pretty quickly. And don't be very confined to, I only need a vertical movement, right? Because the careers have now changed. It is no longer a vertical movement only. It is a spiral movement now. It is like a lattice. So you first join in a role. You may need to go to a horizontal role just to explore a different area altogether. Then from there you go up. Then from there again you might have to go horizontal. You might have to go down as well. Just to share an example, Mr. Satish Pai, who's the MD of Hindalco, in one of his talks, he mentioned that when he was with a company where he spent significant amount of his career, he actually was in operations. He was an operations leader, but he had to actually move one level down to HR to understand the nuances of HR. And he actually spent 3 years, 3.5 years in ER, understood the people side of it, made himself much more evolved. And then from there, he moved to the next stage of operations. So somewhere these are some of the risks also you need to be very clear about what that risk will come and what benefit it will bring to your future, not for today. Many times we are not able to see the future, but that's where you probably will need a mentor, you need a coach, you need a manager who will help you understand what this stint will actually make in your overall development. And finally, the last 2 pictures talks about your values or your passion or your strength should match with organization values. If that is not matching, it's very difficult to actually work in a setup, and you will not be enjoying. So make sure that your passion, strength, is matching with the organization value, and you are able to find meaning in the work as well. This I have already mentioned. I think I'll quickly move to the next slide. I think I'll quickly move. So this is a concept I want to introduce to all of you, which is the natural learning avenues. So I am a firm believer of 70% of the learning. So we all know 70-20-10, but I am a firm believer of 70% of the learning. And in the 70% of learning, one of the most important things which I have also acquired over my career is natural learning of avenues. So these are some of the everyday learning which is not part of your role, right? Which is something out of your role. You go out of your comfort zone, you do extra mile to actually learn something which is very different, right? And some of these examples are these. When you go into your career, when you go into a company, try to see if you are able to find some of these natural learning avenues. You are in HR, if there is a project available in sales, go for it. It might come up with a cost of working on Saturdays or Sundays or burning some midnight oil. Please spend that. I'm telling you, you will be able to see the value of that once you are at least 8 to 9 years in the career. So in the first 10 years, go for cross-functional projects. Do a shadowing if your leader is the CHRO. Just see if there is a shadowing possible to shadow that leader and see how the day of a CHRO looks like. That will give you a different perspective altogether. That will not come in OB or a performance management course. These are some of the life learnings which you'll be able to acquire while you go to the work. Connecting with the external stakeholder, presenting to the board. Digital is a new buzzword every day, and almost every organization is working towards digital. Can you explore a possibility of being a part of the team which is leading that? That will give you a different facet of work altogether, which you will not get in learning and development or staffing or recruitment or talent management. Okay. So with this, we come to the next section of my presentation, and I'm running a little late. So I'll quickly introduce to a concept of growth mindset. And there is a case study which I have shared with Pratima ma'am and Krupa. Ma'am, is it possible to share that, or is it already being shared with them?
It's possible, Vivek. I'll just share. Just give me a moment.
Yeah. So there is a case study, with a simple case study. Let's take 5 minutes and let's have a conversation post that. So there are two people in that, two employees. One is Siddharth and one is Rashmi. And once you read the case study, you will realize there is a very different persona both of them depict. And then let's try to understand what made depict those behaviors, both by Rashmi and Siddharth.
Just give me a moment.
Yeah. Do you want me to share it on?
I'm sharing. I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, it's visible. The case study properly. Okay. So, you want me to scroll down, Vivek?
Yeah, you can do that. I think it's 7:44 right now. Let's take 2-3 minutes and let's come back for the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, can come down.
I'll scroll up. Scroll down.
Yeah. 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 I think Pratibha ma'am, you can actually unshare, and let's hear from some of you.
I'll
What do you
stop
think?
sharing. So
Yeah.
was it clear? I mean, readable?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was readable.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Any responses? Why do you think that Rashmi excelled in this role and Siddharth failed? Any response? See, I typically don't want to pick anybody and ask, but if you don't, then I have to do that, which I don't want to. Any volunteers? Come on. Any volunteers? Why do you think Rashmi kind of excelled in that role? Meghna? No responses?
Um, I think it was too fast, so I'm thinking if I can put it in the chat box.
Okay. Was it fast? Okay. Great.
I'll just check. Okay, here we cannot paste it, so
It's
you
okay. I
want me
think
to
we
run
can
through
share it
again?
later. Yeah, I think we can share it later because I'm also conscious of the time.
Okay.
Let me just go to the presentation. Okay. So one thing which differentiated Rashmi from Siddharth is the growth mindset, and this term was actually invented by a lady called Carol Dweck, and there's a very nice book on that which is called Mindset. And if you read that book, it talks about what growth mindset is all about and how some of the leaders who actually become leaders exhibit those behaviors in their day-to-day working, and how some of the people who kind of reach to the plateau of their careers and cannot move up because of the fixed mindsets. Okay, so this particular case study is around that Rashmi takes the growth mindset in mind. She actually understands the problem. She takes inputs from the various stakeholders and then creates a solution. And she is open to actually seek insights and inputs from people. Whereas Siddharth came across a person who is very confined, who knows what to do, and is not able to implement the changes because of that nature. Okay. Uh, I think I'll just, this is my last section, and I would need active participation from all of you. I will show a slide to you. There are some pictures in that. You have to write one thing that is common in all the people from the next slide. One thing which comes to your mind, please put it on the chat box. What do you see? What is the one word which comes to your mind when you see this picture? Okay, let me see some responses. Okay, achievers, talent, rich, resilience, happiness. Okay, great. Anybody else? Patience, hardworking. Okay, creativity. Great. Perseverance. Okay. Yeah, Sachin, close. I would say you are close. Okay, great. Visionaries, consistency, great. I was looking for the word which I did not get, but I think Sachin was closest. One thing which kind of defines all of them is failure. All of them failed. All of them failed significantly in their careers. And that's the byproduct of growth mindset. If you really have to adopt to a growth mindset, you need to be happy with failure. But many a times failure is not taken in a true spirit, right? We all are used to be in our happy zone. We used to share. We are happy sharing our successes, right? I have achieved this. I have achieved that. But very seldom people share their failures. And my next few slides would actually talk about what a failure can do to you, your career, and your overall personality as well. I just want to quote Ratan Tata one line, few words. He has said that ups and downs in life are very important to keep us going, because a straight line, even in ECG, means we are not alive. So in life also, it is important to have successes which are crests and failures which are troughs, right? Ups and downs are very important. And what failures can teach us, and how can you actually create a mindset of failure in your day-to-day work, in your organization that you're joining, is very important, and it will define who you are. Failure strengthens you, right? Once you fail, you realize that I have the capability to actually take the onus of that failure and become a stronger person, right? You take the stories of any great leader, be it Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, Albert Einstein, or anybody who's known for his greatness. Everybody has failed. In fact, just to share, yesterday I was just scrolling through my Instagram reel, and there is one video of Aman Gupta I came across. Aman Gupta is co-owner of Boat, and he actually made a very strong statement about a team of 3 people who failed in their early careers, early ventures, but had the patience to actually learn from those failures and made a company worth 300 crores today. And in that video, he mentioned that I also have failed 8 times. 9th company is Boat, which people know as a success, but I have also failed 8 times. So failure actually strengthens you. It tells you not to break down, and it tells you what it takes to actually achieve success. Failure gives you a direction. You know at least what was wrong in my solution or my suggestion, and then you understand what is the next direction for me is, right? Many a times what happens when you fail, you realize and you go into that zone of I'm good for nothing. Always remember, failure means your solution was not fit for that particular case. That doesn't mean that your solution was bad. That solution may be good for something else. Don't be too harsh to yourself when you fail. I was rejected by 12 companies before joining Aditya Birla Group. I always felt, why am I being rejected? Why am I not being chosen by a company? But I had faith on myself. I had faith in God. I said that something probably good is waiting for me. And that the stint of Aditya Birla Group for 4 years was a significant experience for me. So embrace the failure because it gives you a direction. Failure teaches you values, because in our career, many things shape our values, and we evolve as a person who we are because of our values, right? And sometimes failures are so strong and they teaches you such strong lessons of life, which kind of define you, who the person you are. And that makes you humble, grounded, and compassionate. Failures gets rid of fear. I mean, if you are failed, there's nothing to actually be fearful about. So you actually have embraced the failure, and you know, I am fearless. So that coming out of the fear zone is what failure teaches you. That helps in creativity, that helps in innovation, that helps in making your solutions faster and agile, and that brings you out of your comfort zone. It teaches you to build resilience, and I think this word resilience is being we all have experienced during the times of COVID, where you said that how a situation like COVID can actually build resilience, come out of your crisis, learn something very different, and evolve as a leader who is resilient and who is powerful and taking that crisis situation head on. Multiple stories of resilience. I'm not going into that, but that is something which failure teaches you. And last but definitely not least, failure is an experience. I mean, you cannot talk about failure if you have not failed, right? And believe me, everything in life is an experience, good, bad, ugly. Failure itself will come with an experience. So make that experience count. Make that experience be worth share with people around. Let few people get inspired by that, and make it an integral part of your experience as well. This is my second last slide, and it talks about why dinosaurs are not there today. Because if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on inside, the end is near, right? If you're not able to make yourself adaptable to the change which is being envisaged tomorrow, you will be having a tough time. And that's why this session, that's why I'm again reiterating, re-emphasizing the fact that you need to spend enough and more on the first 10 years of your career. Remember, first 10 is the most important 10. First 10 is the most important 10. With that, मंजिलें उन्हीं को मिलती हैं जिनकी उम्मीदों में जान होती है. मंजिलें उन्हीं को मिलती हैं जिनकी उम्मीदों में जान होती है. पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता, हौसलों से उड़ान होती है. With that, thank you so much for being a lovely and patient audience. I'm aware I have taken more time, so I probably will unshare now, and I'll invite some questions from all of you. Please feel free to share whatever is in there in your mind. Good, bad, ugly, you did not like, I'm absolutely fine to listen to that as well. But any questions, any quandaries you have in mind, any dilemmas you have in mind, feel free to share now. I would request all of you, if in case possible and the bandwidth allows, please switch on your cameras as well. It is always good to see people and then respond. Otherwise, एक घंटा से तो मैं बोल ही रहा था. I could not see any of you, but I just hope that it will be helpful for you in your career. Wish you all the very best. I am open for questions.
Hi,
Krupa,
Vivek.
how do you want?
Good evening.
Hey, hi, Pili. How are you?
I'm
Good to
good.
see
How are you?
I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
sorry,
Great.
I'm traveling. A lot of noise you must be getting from outside.
No problem.
So
Noise is
great
good.
presentation, Vivek.
Thank
Lot
you.
of insights I got. So I have this question, and that is regarding the change and adapting to change. So as mentioned, when we are coming into new environment, we need to change some aspects of our
Yeah.
behavior,
Yeah.
skills, way of working. But also there are some core values, if you say, or core ways of working which we don't want to change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is what makes us unique in our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
So what exactly decides that which are the parameters I need to adapt to and which are the parameters I need to hold on to when I move into a new environment?
Okay, so I firmly believe in one model which says unlearn, learn, and relearn, right? Any organization you go, it would be a different setup, right? So first thing that you should do is unlearning. Whatever you have learned so far, absolutely fine in that setup. May not be very fit for the current setup. So you first have to spend a little time to understand what the new setup is all about. I am aware you are with ABFRL. The setup is very different. It's part of Aditya Birla Group, but the work culture, the kind of acquisition, you are into a very different zone altogether. You first have to give a little time to yourself to understand what are the core values of the company, right? Core values of the company. And in this case, I'm talking about ABFRL. And then probably from there, you should go to what are the core values of my function, and then to core values of my role. And then you should be able to map it with your core values and the organization values. It takes a little time to actually align that. But my humble suggestion would be, if you feel my core values are not matching with my organization values, then it's a very difficult phase to be in. Now, when I'm saying values, it doesn't mean that I am a lethargic person. I like to do in the structured things, but this company is very fast. That's not value. Value is something which is integral to your belief system, right? Which is your integrity. If you feel that integrity is one of my values and this company does not believe in integrity, I think it's a very difficult phase to be in. I have experienced that once in my career, and I decided to move on. So that's one thing. Because always remember, you should not change your values, because your values is something which is a culmination of your entire upbringing, your parents, your society, your environment, your teachers, your school. Everything has a role to play. Don't change your values just for the sake of a role. Strict no. So I would say that you should spend a little time. First of all, give a little time to understand what are my core values, what are the organization values, and try to map it together. And give a little time. I think every organization takes a little time, and we tend to have a tendency to copy paste the things which we have done past. अरे वहाँ पे हुआ था ना, x plus y is equal to z हुआ था, तो यहाँ पे करता हूँ. But this is different. You should not experience or you should not just copy paste x plus y is equal to z, or should not what you can say expect an x plus y is equal to z here. It may be x plus y is equal to a here. You should be ready to take that a. My humble request to all the youngsters here, although I am also a youngster, call myself a youngster, but give time, give enough time in your role to settle down, to understand the core values of the fabric of the company is very important. Don't just jump into the execution mode. Understand the fabric and the texture of the company. That's very important. Yeah. So when I was with ABG for 4 years, it really took me time to understand the fabric of the company, understand the core values of the company, understand that care is very, very important for Aditya Birla Group. Whenever I am now interacting, I know employees need to be dealt with care. Yeah. So some of those things needs to be dealt a little differently. These are not hard skills. These are soft skills. It takes time. It takes reflection. And it takes more of support from external partners as well. It may be your manager, it may be your parents, or it may be your ex-boss, right? So have an ecosystem of support. Don't again, one suggestion to all of you: we are not superheroes. Yeah, although my 4-year-old kid says that, Dada, you are like a Superman. I said, no, you like Superman, that's fine, but I'm not a Superman. Have an ecosystem of support system around you. That will definitely be a helpful thing in your career, right? So you have one person to actually go back, bounce back, have insights. That's very important. Hope I, Pilya, have kind of given you a valid answer and not confused you. Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vivek.
Thanks, Pili. Thanks. Do well in your role. Yeah, Gaurav, go ahead. Switch on your camera, go on mute, and shoot. Gaurav, you there? Gaurav.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah. You're audible.
Sorry, sir, I cannot switch on my camera right now. I'm outside.
No
So I have a question, sir. Why do some organizations have percentage criteria to hire? Mostly the big companies.
Okay, so always remember one thing, and I'm not saying on behalf of any company here. All my responses are personal to me. there is, so India has large population that you have to accept, right? And there is a way to filter. So how do we filter? Easiest way is to put some criteria where the filtration is done, right? And that's why many of the companies have the filtration criteria of 75% and above, which also is a yardstick that the person is throughout person has performed well in the academics as well. Having said that, and I'm not sure about other companies, but at least what I have experienced in my career, not all the companies go for only academics, right? You need to be good in academics or fairly decent in academics, but you need to have other extracurricular activities or other attributes as well in order to grow in your career and perform well in your role. Companies are not hiring people today who are only bookworms or are not very adaptable to change, or they don't have a high learning agility. So research says that 2 or 3 things which is most important when the companies go for hiring. One is the learning agility. Are you able to learn new things fast and able to implement? One is that. Second is drive to achieve. Do you have that drive to achieve something and then make a changes in your work? And third thing is very important is agility and innovation. These are the 3 things which is very important. And sometimes companies are taking a bet on the talent as well, who are not or not the toppers as well, but have these qualities also. Okay, but yeah, filtration somewhere we have to do, and that's why the filtration criteria are there.
Because you mentioned about the Shark Tank episode where you mentioned about Aman Gupta example. There was a firm called Patil Kaku. They had two friends together. They were 2 friends. They were working together, and they were all dropouts. But still, they did a very they.
There are examples. I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the dropouts are good for nothing. I mean, take an example of Mark Zuckerberg is an example. Larry Page, Sergey Brin is an example of that. Bill Gates is an example of that. I mean, all of them are dropouts. That doesn't mean that you become a dropout to become excel in life. But your academics only cannot define who you are. That's what I said, that you need to have those personal attributes as well, personal characteristics, what we call in HR term. Those also needs to be there. And you mentioned about these people as entrepreneurs. I mean, nobody's stopping you to start your own setup if the companies are not hiring you. Nowadays, there are people who are not even first division graduates, but they are successful entrepreneurs. Yeah, but on the corporate side, there needs to be a cutoff. There needs to be a filtration, because otherwise it will be very difficult to actually hire 10 or 12 people from a lot of 200. It's really difficult to interview 200 people and then see who is the best. Yeah, so that's the reason. Yeah,
Sir,
Shloka.
can you suggest skills which cannot be outdated, like public speaking is one of the skill which is never outdated?
I would say that in today's era, one of the most important skill is digital and analytics. Even though you are in HR or sales and marketing, or you're in digital, you need to be having those skills of digital and analytics. Because gone are the days where the people are actually taking decisions based on the guts. Today, everything is decided based on numbers, what the number is speaking and how you can actually derive the insights from that. So most important, I would say, hard skills are digital and analytic skills. Second, as you rightly mentioned, public speaking, but I will not only confine to public speaking. I would say communication skills overall is very important. So how do you communicate? How do you influence is very important. And third skill is very important, is to have a growth mindset and be ready to adapt to new things and changes. Yeah, you should not be very comfortable with the setup. Make the changes in that setup and come up with something new. So these 3 skills, I would say, are one of the 3 most important skills.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so much.
Welcome, Gaurav. Welcome. Yeah, Shloka.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My question for you would be that what are the certain core competencies that a fresher like me can adopt to, enter into the corporate world or approach to the companies? how would I go about it?
So I'll tell you, when you are joining an organization, nobody is expecting you to run the machine day one. If you're an operation guy, yeah, everybody understands that you have read the book and you have limitations, right? You only know the theory. What people are expecting and what we are expecting from the freshers are the ability to pick up new things and learn. Your learning agility has to be very, very, very fast. You should not pick and choose कि ये मेरा काम नहीं है मैं नहीं करूँगा. You should be ready to take anything which comes and should be able to learn fast and able to implement. That's first. Learning agility is one. Second thing, what we are expecting from the newbies is a little bit of understanding about the corporate setup. What we are experiencing, many a times people are not aware of corporate setup at all. And they tend to behave the way they are in college. And sometimes that creates a wrong impression, I would say. And I will be very honest with you. So how can we do that? And that's again a responsibility of the colleges also to have true collaboration between an industry and an institute. So can you go and shadow some of the industry people? Can you work on some of the projects of industry? So go there, work in Worli office of ABC and work on a project for 10 days to understand how the corporate setup is all about. Because there, those things are very soft skills, right? And people tend to make impressions very fast, and those impressions are little difficult to break. So two things which is very, very important. Third thing which is very important is the communication skill, I would say. We have a way of speaking in colleges, and we have a different setup in corporates. That shift, if you're able to actually practice before joining, that would be really good, because you never know, you probably would be speaking in front of the CHROs or CXOs, which you are not accustomed to right now. So go for courses, go for videos, and make hone your skills on the communication skills. And when I'm saying communication, it's not only speaking, it's making presentations also. How can you make your presentations very precise, sharp, less of words and more of pictures. If you see, my presentation was more of pictures, and that creates an impact, because there the attention span anyways for people is less. There they are the CXOs. Anyways, it's a lesser. So how can you make that impact in the less time would be very important. Yeah. So those three things I would say is very important. And again, first 10 is the most important thing. So keep that in mind always. Huh?
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome, Shlok. Yeah, Harmeek. Pratima ma'am, should we take 2 more questions?
Yes,
After
Vivek,
this one
I was
more?
about to say, yeah, we can do more questions and then we can close for
We
the
will
day.
find out. Okay, great. So you can share the feedback link in the meantime. Yeah, Harmeek, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. First of
evening.
all, your lecture was awesome. So my question is like your presentation is all about around the like you have to experience like in first 10 years of your corporate life, you have to explore more and more roles, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to ask like up to how much extent like we can change the roles. Like if someone is working in HRBP, then he may opt this recruitment or the other HR operations. So about that, I have a query related to that.
So first of all, if you are in HR, then you are an HR professional. Don't confine yourself to an HRBP professional or a talent acquisition, because first of all, let me make it very clear, HR कोई rocket science नहीं है, कोई भी कर लेगा.
Yeah, yes, but I just gave an example of this.
Okay, so
because
you
I
gave
want
an
to-
example of HR.
Yeah.
So I think in the first 10 years, you should be able to touch the 3 most important sub functions of HR or sales and marketing. For example, if you're in sales, you are selling soaps, 3 years done. Can you explore an exposure of marketing as well, which talks about branding, communication, which is behind the scene, right? Then you go to a third role, can be your key account management, right? Because which is a B2B sales, which is a very different sales from a B2C sales. So this is for sales. Similarly, for finance, you can start with finance and accounts, right? Accounting, billing, and invoice processing and all. Can you move from there to taxation? Can you understand a little bit of taxation? From taxation, can you go to treasury? So these are various sub functions under one function, and you
Yes,
should be
got it.
able to explore the function. Now, if you're able to go beyond functions, nothing like that, right? If you are in HR and you have a stint in sales, that's absolutely beyond any imagination. Rarely you will get a chance, but if you get, grab it. I know a senior of mine from Goa Institute of Management. She came to my college as a campus lead from HR, and 2 years later, I read about her that she's going into a marketing department, and she has taken a role of marketing and branding. And from there, she's now a marketing person. So that's the career aspiration she had. She moved from HR to a sales and marketing kind of role. So that's cross-functional is difficult, but cross-sub-function is definitely possible. Definitely possible. It's just a matter of telling yourself you can do it and finding the right fitment, right? So typically what happens, we tend to go so deep into our specialization, then difficult to come out of that zone. Then you are tagged as specialist hai ye. So don't make your first 10 years a specialist. Explore everything. It's like a buffet. You go to a restaurant, you eat continental, you eat Chinese, you need pasta, and you need roti sabji, and then you decide ki yaar roti sabji sabse acha lag raha hai. Let's have roti sabji for the main course. So that exploration should be for first 10 years, and then you decide what is your roti sabji for the next 20 years. That roti sabji is something we should decide after 10 years.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, Amit. Any other question? Last question, perhaps? Okay. If no more questions, then over to you, Pratima ma'am and Krupa. Thank you so much, guys. I know it's a Friday evening, and I have pulled you guys for a topic like careers and all, which is not a right time to talk about, but I hope you gained from it. And I'm anyways available in LinkedIn. Let's connect with LinkedIn. Any questions you have around careers, development, please feel free to ping me. And I probably will not be able to have the answers immediately, but I'll try to gather the insights and probably come back to you with your questions. With that, thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend. Over to you, Krupa.
Thank you very much, sir. First, I'd actually like to personally thank you, because me being a fresher, just kickstarting with my career, this was a really important session for me as well. And next, I'd like to thank you from behalf of everyone that is attending and from behalf of the NHRDN Mumbai chapter. It was a really, really nice session and definitely a great one and not at all a boring one. So thank you very much, and thank you for taking out time for us on a Friday evening and taking the session. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. And special thanks to Pratima ma'am for helping me with all my questions. I know I pestered and bugged you a lot, but thank you so much, ma'am, for all your help and support.
Thank you so much, Vivek. It was really very, very nice and insightful session for all the youngsters. And on behalf of NHRDN, we are really grateful to you. And in future also, we would want to associate with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Look forward now. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful weekend, all of you. Bye-bye.
Everyone can fill up the feedback form, please. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much, sir.
Bye.